log in and put in the search bar for classes, you put Moodle resource, it should pop up. And the first time you go into it, there's a button at the bottom that says enroll me. And the instructions on all of this will go out as well, so that you can see this again, but just wanted to let you know that we do have that information up there. They've been compiling a lot of great information specifically for educators right now. So that stuff will be available in our Moodle Resource Center for faculty to access.
Could I throw in a comment? This is Kirsten. I've used the chat, no, I guess it's not the chats, the Moodle forums, even in-person classes occasionally. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I've found they're really helpful, like Jennifer said, because students get a chance to think before they post. Mm-hmm. That sometimes I found students who are really quiet in the classroom actually have a lot to say in the discussion posts because they have time to think through their answers. They feel much more comfortable speaking in the forums in a way that they don't in the classroom. And so you might actually find students who never spoke face-to-face say much more online because they do have the time to think about what they have to say, because, and then they're much more comfortable speaking out. That's all I was going to throw out there.
Completely agree, Kristen, and I've heard lots of folks say something similar from their classes. I do find giving some careful thought to how you word the questions determines how good the answers are. So having questions that are open-ended and have more of an application focus, or ask them to connect two things together or draw on the research, those tend to work really well. And I've had the same experience with the students who are quiet in the classroom will write me novels on the asynchronous discussion board. So I think you're absolutely right, and your experience resonates with lots of folks.
Can I ask another question? Mm-hmm. And this is maybe not a question so much for Jennifer, but I saw Judy in the room and Matthew, and Jennifer, you may not know this, but the initial email that went out said that we will be doing synchronous classes. Oh. And so I guess my question is how wedded we are to doing that, because I do have a real concern about the equity and access issue of doing the synchronous classes for some of the students that I know are currently in my classes.
So we have Judy in the room, and she is going to speak. And if you don't hear her, let me know, and I will repeat what she tells you. Okay?
So thanks for the question. So as we started to talk about this with Matthew and several folks, our goal is to replicate for students as much as possible the community of learners. So we would like everybody to start out doing synchronous work. And we're working on an email to students, helping them figure out how to get organized and work in your planner and be ready to watch for your synchronous classroom. I think that as after a while, after you have that established and you're comfortable, we will be more flexible. You can put in asynchronous stuff and work how you want. But I really believe, and Matthew can add to this if he wants, that it's just important for us to keep that semblance of community for a while. Because as always, and this is true everywhere, we're all worried about losing our students, losing the continuity of the learning experience.
So just to recap that in case anybody couldn't hear, we're attempting to keep the continuity for the students is kind of the thought with that. And there may be some more flexibility down the line, but it's mostly that we want to keep that sense of community for those students because as always, we're always worried about losing our students. And Matthew?
The only thing I would add is I think that Jennifer used an excellent term here, that what we're trying to do is more along the lines of academic continuity right now at this point. Perhaps there's certain things that could be offered in the asynchronous mode that would be better, but right now these courses have all been designed to be offered in person in a synchronous manner, and that's a big lift to kind of change the mode in a matter of a few days.
Yeah, so Matthew said, we're looking specifically at the continuity. It would be a big lift to, take these courses that have been designed for face-to-face and synchronous to suddenly be transferring everything to fully online. So that is the concern there. And so that's one of the reasons we're saying keep it as keep the continuity there. That's really what we're trying to do mostly, as much as we possibly can for these students.
Right.
So
the other thing I'd like to add is that we have a team of instructional designers here and online learning manager to help consult with the faculty on a one-on-one basis to figure out what works best for that individual. Yeah.
So again, we've got our instructional designers here, the online learning manager. So we are here to help you guys. We will sit down and see what makes the most sense for you. We've got those one-on-one sessions scheduled for Monday and Tuesday, so there's still spots available. Please go in, sign up. We've got Lisa back, we've got Garrett, we've got myself. Dan will be handling talking with students and figuring that piece out. So, and Matthew will be in and out as needed, so feel free to reach out to us. That is what we're here for. We want to help you guys make this as seamless as possible. We know it won't be perfect, but as seamless as we can. And I'm just logging into the Zoom. Emily is saying it is really difficult to hear. Can people in the room just log into the Zoom meeting? That actually adds up significantly more feedback over on this side, so that it does become difficult. We know that there's a little feedback with the screen in here when we're unmuted, so we apologize for that. But again, you can reach out to us and answer any, ask any questions that way. And Emily, I will follow up with you specifically to answer any of your questions. So any other questions for Jennifer? Michelle has one.
Hi Jennifer, thanks for doing this. Appreciate you. I guess I have a general question, which is, what are some of the best hacks as someone that hasn't done online teaching? I had what I think is probably a stupid question for Matthew. He shared with me, just imagine that, I was saying, should students see my face because they'll have the slides on their iPads, or should they see the slides? And he said maybe as a general rule to kind of think about the screen being their visual, unless there's a sort of reason to take their attention away from that, because we can't really do split screen that I know of. But I guess that's sort of basic. What I'm interested in is from someone who's done this all the time, what are some pitfalls to avoid? What are some hacks that you can help those of us that are just going to be trying to focus on the essential goals of the class and deliver content? And maybe we can go through, even if folks are interested, specific kinds of assignment suggestions, like presentations. Many of us have students that still have to do presentations, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I'm trying to just wrap my mind around some of the lessons that you've learned.
So to repeat that question, I'm going to narrow that down significantly. I'm sorry, Michelle. What are some pitfalls that people sometimes run into in these things? What are some tips or hacks that you can think of that are going to be best to share with us in terms of delivering in this manner? What is your opinion? What are your thoughts and ideas on that front?
So I think some of the best hacks really are things that aren't related to the technology, interestingly. So one is trying to keep things as consistent as possible. So for example, if you look at your syllabus for the rest of the semester, if you have a paper, if you have a guest speaker, if you have certain things planned, to try and keep those consistent and just move those to the online format. And one of the reasons for that is that students are already experiencing a lot of change, and so we don't want to put more change on them than we need to. But the other side of that coin is the importance of flexibility. And so just recognizing our students are dealing with extraordinary circumstances, and flexibility with things like requests for extensions on papers, those types of things, that's really important. Another piece that I think is an important hack, important step in this whole process, is to move your office hours online. So if you haven't figured out what you want to do for that, it's a good time to do that and to communicate that to the students. And so Zoom is certainly a way to do it. If you want to make yourself available by phone, some folks are more comfortable with that than others. But just to figure out a strategy that works for you and sharing that with the students. Really, the pieces that go into a successful online learning experience are what go into a regular successful learning experience. So the number one that we know from research is quality of feedback. So spending time giving good feedback to students and giving attention to that piece. And then the second is the relationship with the student and having them feel supported, having them feel connected with the faculty member. And I know that's, obviously that's what Hiram is all about. And that's a piece that can really lead Hiram to be successful in all of this, is that really great connection with the student. So I think a piece to avoid is to try to avoid getting too experimental with technology at this point. The ultimate goal is you want to continue the learning experience. You want students to feel that connection, to meet the learning objectives of their course. But it's not really the best move to try and make it the perfect online course with no time. And so it's an example where just a simple video conversation might be great, but you might not need to explore all of the possible bells and tools that are possible, especially if you're not quite comfortable yet, or if you're not unsure how to use the basics. So those are my big recommendations, is keep it all about the student relationship, being responsive, communicating, and being mindful of where they are and what they're dealing with. I feel like there might have been other parts to that question. Were there other pieces?
Michelle wants to follow up with that. So,
and I can defer to you, but I know there's probably things that people have learned, pitfalls, that maybe we can avoid, if she can also put some of those. But Judy, maybe you wanted to have something.
Maybe after you respond to that question, I was going to ask you, we're working on an email to students, and so how could we help students? What could we tell students? The biggest thing I'm worried about is, they don't check their email, they don't, so we have to, how can we also help the students get used to this? But
so we're going to start with Michelle's question, which was what are the pitfalls? Like what things do we need to avoid that that we know don't work? What kinds of things like that are out there?
One is, I think it's important to have some backup plans. For example, if you're doing a live lecture, to record it if you can, so that if a student can't join, that you're able to share that with them afterwards. Another is be mindful of students that have accommodations.